Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics, what's going on in the media, what's going on in the news. We'll cover a lot of it. Not certain if I'll get to, I might do hot topics, trending topics. I guess the Kardashians had Chris's birthday party. Police were, excuse me, police was called several times because I guess noise ordinance and of course, the local neighbors were not happy about the music, the noise. I'm surprised they didn't have it at a big event place. You know what I mean? Why annoy the neighbors? It's almost like they just don't care. They had it at Jeff Bezos' house, and I'm wondering how was the parking as well. But we'll get to all of that. So allow me a few moments to get into my disclaimer. So remember how somebody was saying somebody might be suing. And I guess that's not going to be true because why would he throw Chris' birthday party if you know what I'm saying? So that's not true. A lot of times I will debunk stuff too. So if Jeff Bezos is throwing Chris a birthday party, there's no way allegedly Kim was thinking about suing him allegedly, and that was put out about last month. But let me go ahead and do my disclaimer. But yeah, I guess they just didn't care about their neighbors. Isn't that something? But yeah, a lot of stars showed up to the birthday party. But let me go ahead and get into my disclaimer. We're going to talk about this shutdown. Uh, like the video as you guys come in and subscribe. And let me know where you're watching from. Press 3, let me know where you're watching from. Press 5, you've been here before. So let me go ahead and get to my disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use is used prevented by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Let's get straight into the news. Be kind in the comments. I have no problem timing people out. I don't play that over here. Please like the video. Hold on one second. Just doing all my stuff on this side. Okay. I can go ahead and play this now. Like the video as you guys come in.
That the New England Patriots possibly becoming the best, if not one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, they're looking good. The Pats are back, but also, and this is just Democrats. I get it. They have the best week that they've had in a year and a half. And then fear and loathing and the wringing of hands because they may reopen the government because, yes, there are some Democrats who understand that people are going hungry. And what have they done? They have found out and they have exposed a White House that is working overtime to give tax cuts to billionaires. At the same time, they're working overtime to take SNAP assistance, to take food assistance from working Americans. And this has exposed just how much the Republican Party hates the idea of helping working Americans, helping middle-class Americans who are struggling with health care. So you take that and you take the massive win that Democrats had this past week, massive, historic in some ways, where Steve Bannon said Democrats erased 10 years of Republican gains in one night. And why did that happen? Donald Trump said it happened because of the government shutdown. So all this fear and loathing and all this whining, I wish Democrats for once, just once, could take a win and then understand the Republicans, they were never going to help working Americans. They learned that through this process. So you know who else learned that through this process? The American voter. Donald Trump was exposed and the administration was exposed and Republicans were exposed as the party that fought like hell to give tax cuts to billionaires, to multinational corporations, to the richest of the rich. And we learned just last week, they were trying to extend those tax cuts to even more billionaires to get tax cuts. At the same time, they were fighting like hell to stop working Americans from getting basic food assistance. And just a helping hand, just a little helping hand with our healthcare costs. So, yeah, the government shutdown is going to come to an end. But the reality of what this Republican Party stands for today, the reality of what Donald Trump was fighting for this past week, that will stay with voters for years to come.
Yeah, we will return to our top story, Drake May, a little later in the morning. But right now, in terms of the shutdown, it's interesting to see how this is being received. I think we have to look at it in two different ways. There's the sort of short-term impact and the long-term impact. And like last night, a lot of Democrats deeply unhappy by what happened last night. A sense, particularly from the progressive wing, but not entirely, that this is a weird moment to cave. The Democrats had momentum coming off of the election night win. Polls only getting worse for President Trump and the Republicans. They're squarely taking the blame here. There's some who really want to push Democrats to push the advantage, bargain harder, get a better deal. And it's true, they did not get a guarantee to preserve those Obamacare subsidies. There's going to be a vote later next month, it looks like, but not a guarantee that it'll happen. But there are some good things that did come of this deal, Joe. To your point, obviously, government workers are going to start getting paid again. SNAP benefits are going to be restored. There's going to be a moratorium on layoffs, the federal workforce, and the restoration of those who have lost their jobs. And I think for Democrats, short-term, there's frustration, but long-term, yes, they have used this shutdown to underscore the point you just made. Republicans are out of touch. Republicans don't care about the little guy. Republicans care about the wealthy and the tax cuts for the rich and building ballrooms and the like. We can go down the list. So I think that's where we are right now. There's a lot of sort of unhappiness in the party last night. Why did we blink now? Yeah. So many people said to me, and my phone was blowing up last night with unhappy Democrats, but I think those who like the deal say, look, we need to take a step back. Yeah. We're playing more of a long game.
Listen, I understand. I understand people who are intense on the left, just like when I was in Congress, I understood people who were intense on the right about government shutdowns and keeping them going forever and ever and ever. I also understand, though, when you have people, let me go to John Bresnahan, because John was there with me during our government shutdowns back in the 1990s. John, you always have people like me. You always have the extremists in Congress raising their hands and going, the American voters will remember this forever. They will see that we're... No, it's just not true. It's not true. We used, as you know, in 95 and 96, even though we lost those shutdowns in the short term, we used those shutdowns to define the Republican Party as the party of balanced budgets. We all took it. We all took it home. And yeah, Bill Clinton won the 96 campaign, but we won Congress 96, 98, 2000, 2002, 2000. I mean, we stayed in power for a decade, and every Republican went out there and said, we balanced budgets, and we did it 4 years in a row for the first time in a generation.
Let's get the likes up, everyone. Let's get the likes up. The likes should match the views. As you come in, please double tap the screen. Let's get the likes up. Thank you. Let's get the likes up. The likes should match the views. To hit the like button is free. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Now that's first time in 100 years. But we use that government shutdown to frame what we were the next decade. And I'm not asking you as a reporter to get involved in this. I'm asking you just to report on how government shutdowns work. And when people are running around with their hair in fire on the left saying, oh, this is the end of the Democratic Party, they should look to last Tuesday and look to next year and understand that these government shutdowns, more than anything else, they define where the parties stand, and that stays in cement through the next election.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I do think there's a danger here there could be another shutdown in January. We'll get to that. But I think with the shutdown, what you have to do is you have to, as a leader or leaders, you walk your party into a very extreme position, and then you've got to deal as the leaders to go back to the center or move back toward the center, toward a compromise, a government, a bipartisan deal, and you've left your people can't make that pivot as quickly. I think that's what we're seeing here. This was the Democrats, by all measures, have won this shutdown, quote unquote. But you're 40 days into it. Where's your end game? At some point, like you said in your opening, you got to declare victory and just, and move on, because this wasn't going to end. What happens if it ends next week or 2 weeks? It's not going to end any differently.
Right. And, Caddy, we also have a couple things happening right now. What we saw this past week, what we saw yesterday, was the news of Donald Trump ordering his administration to do everything to keep food assistance from working class and middle class Americans, his own people, working like hell. It was a screaming headlines. He was ordering states. Oh, you states that think you can help working Americans in red state America, stop. Don't do it. He did everything he could to make sure no food assistance got to those Americans who needed it the most. Again, a lot of those people who voted for him. What's the second part of this? Absolute chaos in airports. Now, if these Democrats on the left really want to take a chance, and I mean it, really want to take a chance on this turning ugly against them, then continue the chaos that we saw at the end of last week and through this weekend. Continue that through Thanksgiving, or moving up to Thanksgiving. It gets ugly and it gets unpredictable. Yeah, this was not a perfect ideological win. The battle for healthcare justice, that continues. But again, it continues with this debate framed. The whole world knows where the Republican Party sits. They don't care that healthcare premiums continue to explode. Just ask MTG. They don't care about anything, it seems, out of the White House, except for cutting taxes for the richest of the richest of the rich. And again, last week they announced more of these cuts. They don't care about working Americans. They care, again, about granting clemency to felons. So, all right. That's a pretty good.
Good morning. Good morning. There's about 153 in the building. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 if you've been here before, where you're watching from. Let's get the likes up. To hit the like button is free. Please hit the like button. Like the video as you guys come in. Double tap the screen and hit the like button. The thumbs up the video. Thank you.
Place for Democrats to be as they move forward and debate where this country goes over the next year.
Yeah, yesterday I booked my son a ticket by train as a backup for Thanksgiving, paid an extraordinary amount of money to get one of the very last train tickets from Boston to DC. And that's when I thought, you know what, this is going to have to change, because there are millions of Americans who are making similar backup plans for Thanksgiving, and whose Thanksgiving is going to be ruined, and we're only 2 weeks away. So
like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Please hit the like button as you come in. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Fair use reaction clip.
He was among the group of moderates who broke ranks and voted with Republicans in the legislation to fund the government.
Good morning. Good
And
morning.
vote on extending Affordable Care Act tax subsidies that expire January 1st. Senator, thanks so much for being with us. Why did you decide to vote with Republicans to open the government?
Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were two goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Donald Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goals, and there was zero likelihood that it was going to. In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power, Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country. Oh, by the way, Joe, you're going to love this. Guess who's getting paid during the shutdown? Not the park rangers or air traffic controllers, the ICE agents. Under special law, under that big awful bill that they passed last summer, the ICE agents are being paid. Nobody else is. So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power. And then secondly, and I've been a big supporter of the ACA, the idea of forcing the Republicans to the table to negotiate on that issue by virtue of a shutdown didn't work. It's now the longest shutdown in American history, and there was no prospect that it was going to work. I've talked to a lot of my chances of negotiating a settlement in the midst of the shutdown were zero. As of last night, we now have a guaranteed vote on a bill on the ACA subsidies, something that is unprecedented in my experience in the Senate, and so we have a shot at it.
Right.
I'll take those odds any day.
But even Donald Trump admitted that the government shutdown is what caused Democrats to win the election in historic fashion last week.
Well, I think it's a question of, at some point, there's diminishing returns. And as I say, the strategy was, let's bring the Republicans to the table. It didn't happen. It wasn't going to happen. And in the meantime, if this was just a dispute between politicians in the Senate, whether we had to hang around for the weekend, that would be one thing. But, Joe, there's tremendous collateral damage from this. 42 million American SNAP benefits are at risk and are being lost. People aren't being paid for the work that they're doing. I don't want to land at an airport in the United States with a sleepy air traffic controller because they're working double shifts. So any good general, if the strategy isn't working, you change tactics, and particularly you change tactics if your own troops are at risk. And that's really what's happening here. There was collateral damage to the American people. At the same time, the goal wasn't being achieved. So we're going to change the narrative, and now we have a guaranteed vote within the next month on the ACA tax credits drafted by the Democrats that the majority leader has agreed to bring to the floor. That's a big deal, and it gives us a chance to put the Republicans to the test. Are you going to work with us on this issue or not? In the midst of the shutdown, they just weren't talking.
Bernie Sanders and other progressive leaders have said that you and other moderates that have voted to reopen the government going to cause great damage to the Democratic Party, and then you'll see it as a betrayal, and that voters will remember next November. What do you say to Bernie Sanders?
Well, I think what I'm saying is, what was your strategy, man? What was your end game? If we're going to extend the shutdown another week, another month, through Christmas, Thanksgiving, is that going to get us anywhere? The point is, there never was an end game if the initial strategy didn't work. And now we have one. We're going to have, as I say, a guaranteed vote on the ACA. And it may not succeed. I grant that. But a reasonable chance, 10, 20%, 30%, is a lot better than 0%, which is where we were as of yesterday morning. So I understand everybody wants to stand up to Donald Trump. Everybody wants to deal with the ACA tax credits. I do too. The question is this the right tool to do it? And it's becoming counterproductive, and you can't ignore 42 million people not getting their SNAP benefits.
Stay with us for a minute. Senator Claire McCaskill is going to have a question for you, but I want to go to Claire first. Claire, I've been through this, and we reopened the government before I wanted the government to be reopened. But what I found during that government shutdown is we framed the debate in a way that drew focus to Washington, and a way that helped us win elections, certainly in the House for the next 4 to 6 years, actually 8 to 10 years. I'm curious your thoughts before you take a question to Senator King on looking at the election this past week, looking at the contradictions that we saw coming out of the White House, looking at Republicans who gleefully were passing tax cuts for the richest billionaires on the planet, but fighting like hell to not get SNAP benefits to their own people. I'm curious how you think this shutdown ends. Is it a plus for Democrats, or do you share Bernie Sanders' concerns?
I think definitely it was a plus for Democrats. We have framed the issue for the country now. It is very clear what the Democrats are fighting for and what they're fighting against. And we've got Trump tearing down the White House and figuring out ways to give tax breaks to billionaires in the back door. And we're arguing about the best way to fight for most Americans, for their healthcare costs and for other costs that they're facing every day. And listen, I mean, are there disagreements within the party about how best to do this? Yeah, there are. But, our party, the Democratic Party, is fighting how we best fight for everyday Americans. And you know what the Republicans are fighting about? The Republicans are fighting about whether or not they should platform Nazis. So, I mean, I like that we have a disagreement about the best way to do it. And I think overall, and this is one thing I want to ask Angus about. Angus, this really just moves the ball down the field for 2 months. And under these critical days of holidays and families reuniting and have wonderful memories together, you've ensured that the skies will be safe and that people that need food help can get food assistance during the holidays. But then you're going to face another opportunity to shut down the government. And in between there, you've got this vote on health care. Tell me about the negotiations behind closed doors. How many Republicans do you think right now are willing to vote with Democrats to do something to relieve healthcare costs for millions of Americans?
Well, I can't give you an exact count, Claire, but I think it's in double digits because these increases are going to be affecting Republican constituents as well as Democratic constituents, and I think they're really concerned about it. Is it going to be a straight-up extension of the ACA tax credits? Probably not. Will there be some discussion and negotiation on it? Yes, absolutely. And so I guess the question is, and you're right. I mean, we have to have 13. We're going to have 13 Republican votes to get a bill through. Is that possible? I think it is, depending upon what's in the bill. But you have to compare. Put a percentage on, let's say it's 50-50. That's a lot better than 0, which is where we are now. And the shutdown, I think you're absolutely right, has focused attention on the issue of healthcare, and I think that's really important. The question is, what's next, and how do we best take advantage of the fact that the public's paying attention to that issue at this point and not be harming the people that you mentioned in your comment about the shutdown?
All right, Independent Senator Angus King of Maine, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thanks, Joe.
Please like the video as you guys come in. Please like the video. To double tap the screen as you guys come in. Double tap the screen as you guys come in. Like the video. To hit the like button is free. We have 140 in the building and 3 likes. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. Please double tap the screen to get the likes up, and thank you. To hit the like button is free. Thank you. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go. Let's get the likes up. I love the hearts. Thank you.
The latest developments in the government shutdown. Jake Sherman, Punchbowl News, is co-founder, an NBC News and MSNBC political contributor. So here we are, perhaps on the cusp of a deal. I want to know what you think the Democrats are going to get for all of this, what you think the Republicans are going to get for all of this, and the way the public is going to think about this when it's all over, if they think about it again at all.
Maybe they won't think about it again at all. The Democrats get nothing. let's just be clear, they get nothing. There's no significant policy wins in this for Democrats. They have been spinning it as well. They get snapped for a year. They get to reverse the mass layoffs that the Trump administration has conducted since October, and they forestall any layoffs until through January. First of all, the Trump administration would lay people off during the shutdown because the shutdown was ongoing. SNAP is funded because that's what happens when you reopen the government. You fund the agriculture department. So there's no real policy victories at all for Senate Democrats, and it reproves the point, Andrew, that shutdowns, the instigating party in a shutdown, never gets anything. That 2018, 2019, House Republicans learned that during their Obamacare shutdowns early in the Obama administration. You don't get anything. Now, Republicans, I will say this is not without risk for Republicans going forward, because they're going to be plunged into a conversation about healthcare, which has never been a winning issue for them. Maybe it changes. I don't know. I can't tell the future, but they will be forced to talk about healthcare, which is not a great topic for them. And these credits are expiring. They are. They're going to expire at the end of the year, and maybe they can find something better. Maybe they can't. But that's the only real risk I see for Republicans, which is a modest risk at that.
But you're going to hear, Jake, about people anecdotally, This is what it used to be. This is what it's going to be now because of and it may be pressure to really to address that at some point. I saw a meme this morning, and you sounded just like it, because it was from G2, and it was a meme where that senator from Nevada was trying to shake down Michael Corleone for a casino license, and he makes unbelievable threats, and then says, "Let me know by the weekend what it is." And Michael Corleone says, "I'll give you my answer right now, Senator. Nothing." And that's exactly how I'll give you, and you're going to pay for the license.
But Jake, the thing that I'm trying to figure out is, do you think that a year from now, come the midterms, somehow this factors into that discussion?
Midterms are.
I don't know. Does this just go away?
Who's worse off, Schumer or Republicans in the midterms? Neither one looked very like they're in a great position, Jay.
I'll put it this way: in Donald Trump's Washington and Donald Trump's America, 12 months, it might as well be 12 years. We don't know what we're going to be thinking about, what voters are going to be thinking about next year. Now, the question is, if Joe is right, maybe they will have to fix this. If premiums are up 2x or 3x in some places, who do voters blame? Do they blame Republicans who control all of Washington, or Democrats who put the law into place and folded in the shutdown? I can't tell you the answer to that definitively. A lot of Republicans have told me that they think that they are going to shoulder the blame here. And listen, Trump seems at the moment, again, with Trump, you don't know where it's going to go, but at the moment interested in doing some sort of healthcare effort. I think that is not easy for Republicans. We've seen over the last 15 years, nearly 16 years, Republicans have not been successful in putting out a plan that people can rally around that is as comprehensive as the ACA, and maybe they don't want to. Maybe they'll make changes around the edges.
Good morning. Good morning.
Joe, you are right. Republicans, since October 1st or even before, have not moved 1 inch on their position in the shutdown, which is, we're not going to discuss healthcare with the government shutdown, and eventually Democrats are going to fold. And they did it. By the way, it's Monday. Maybe the Senate finishes this today. If they're lucky, they need to get consent from 100 senators. So we're going to go into at least toward the end of the week, middle end of the week, before this is fully resolved. And it will take airports and the rest of society a couple days here to snap back.
Good morning.
Jake,
good morning.
This is kind of a forced protest that they have put on all of these government workers, on all of these government aid recipients, saying this is so important to us, and we're going to take you along with us. Because this is the longest we've ever done this, what ripple effects last beyond just how long it takes to put society back together? Are there things that will change permanently for this? Are there, just the ripple effects from the air traffic controllers who are in training, who are saying, forget it, I'm not going to do this anymore? Will the government actually act to try and make it a lot tougher for a government shutdown in the future?
They can't make it any tougher, Becky. I mean, there's nothing they could do to make it tougher logistically. I think there's been estimates that GDP is gonna take a hit. Most of the damage, the economic damage from the shutdown, is predicted to reverse. Right? It's predicted to snap back once government coffers are full and the country starts moving again. But listen, this process, this funding bill, puts another deadline for most of the government funding on January 30th. So Congress will have just over 2 months to fund the rest of the government on a long-term basis. Right now, what they're basically doing is they're funding agriculture, military construction, and veterans affairs, and the legislative branch. The rest of the government needs to be funded by January 30th. Listen, what you said, Becky, is absolutely correct. Government shutdowns are designed to exact pain in exchange for a policy concession, and the hundreds of thousands of federal workers who are paid by the government, paid by the federal government, are it's just they are along for the ride, and it is difficult. And we've seen.
Trump learned in the last week when the Republicans shut it down. It's like not something that worked. Maybe it won't happen anymore. Can I ask you? I heard that there were many more senators they could have counted on, but like Senator Shaheen's not running for re-election. I think there's another senator that's not running for. So there's certain senators that don't have political. There won't be a hangover from what they're doing. How do they decide to do? They got exactly what they needed.
Good morning.
So
good morning.
Whomever didn't have to vote
That
for
always
it.
happens, Joe.
How do they do it?
Exactly what they need.
How do they do it? Do they talk? Do they talk to each other and say, "Okay, you don't have to do it. I'll take the flak for you"? How many more were there?
Remember, I can tell you this: 2 of the people who voted for it, Dick Durbin and Jeanne Shaheen, are not running for re-election. The rest of them are up for re-election in 2028 or 2030, so they don't face voters for some time. That is eons away. Who knows how many of those people run again, et cetera, et cetera. So they were all in negotiations over what they need to get to yes. And all of these folks, to a person, they were sick of the shutdown. They think it didn't work. Tim Kaine, who just won re-election in Virginia, decided that the several 100,000 government workers didn't deserve this anymore. By the way, I do not know whether there were a bunch more. I don't. Now, I just don't. I'm not sure that's correct. I mean, I'm sure if they absolutely needed it. Remember, Schumer is against this. Schumer is going to vote no. Brian Schatz, the next Senate Democratic whip, the next number 2 and probably the next number 1 at some point, is going to vote no. So the top of the party is no. And by the way, this is going to be very messy in the House of Representatives. We're all forgetting, or at least I needed reminding, kind of, that Republicans have 219 votes in the House. They can only lose 2 to pass this. Hakeem Jeffries is a no. His leadership team is going to be a no. The default position for House Democrats is going to be a no. This is going to look very, very turbulent in the House when it gets there Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
When they bother to come back to work.
Yeah, they've been out for 50 days. It's one of the I'll say this. I mean, having covered this stuff for, as long as I have, 16 years, this is the most obscene thing I've ever seen, that they've been out of session for 50-something days as the shutdown is dragged on. They would have.
And by the way, they're getting paid for all of this.
Correct. Constitutionally, they are mandated to get paid. Yes, they are getting paid.
There's your first problem. You want to make it tougher? Stop paying that. You want to make it tougher for government shutdowns?
1,000%. They wouldn't have continued if they were not getting paid, probably, or would have been much quicker. But Joe, what you said is right.
Just a little piece they expect to
end well.
Like the video. Like the video.
Right away to help set up the action today. All right, KG.
Fair use reaction clip. Like the videos you guys come in. Like the videos you guys come in. The likes should match the views. Please double tap that screen to get the likes up, and thank you. 164. Please hit the subscribe button as well. Let's continue.
Is a flush to the downside to start the day, and then we had some buyers really trying to step in. And for the S&P 500, we were able to finish in the green, and so that also created this hammer candle. If you're looking at the technicals there, which is actually bullish, and we were able to defend the 50-day moving average. Now, obviously, we have some really decent news over the weekend, or the market perceives it to be really decent news here when it comes to the government shutdown. Hopefully, over the next couple of days, we actually see that being resolved here, and that's why we're seeing equities moving higher, yields also moving to the upside as well. Kind of that risk-on trade, selling out of treasuries, getting back into the equity markets, and you're seeing the traditional sectors, and we would like to see outperform. Really doing so this morning. You have technology, communication services catching a bit, industrials also catching a bit as well. Keep your eye out on the airlines. Those stocks are actually moving a little bit higher here today. And now we are trying to resolve this 20-day moving average if you're looking at the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And I think that's going to be the very key area of resistance. We're about 10 points above it right now if you're looking at the futures contracts. But if we're able to close.
Like the videos you guys come in. Thanks for being here, and thanks for supporting the channel. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here and supporting the channel. I'm so tired this morning. What do you guys think about the shutdown? Were you guys surprised that they are planning to open? Let me know in the comments. Were you guys surprised that they were planning to reopen? Like the videos you guys come in. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Government shutdown on record could be about to end. That's after several Democrats in the Senate backed a Republican funding bill in a weekend session. But the compromise still needs to be approved by lawmakers in the House of Representatives. The historic shutdown has left workers without pay and disrupted essential services.
On this vote, the yeas are 60 and the nays are 40. 3/5 of the Senate duly chosen and sworn, having voted in the affirmative. The motion upon reconsideration is agreed to.
An end to the U.S. government shutdown is now in sight after the Senate voted to advance.
Press 3 if you're new where you're watching from. Press 3 if you're new where you're watching from. Plus 5, you've been here before and where you're watching from.
A bill to restore federal funding through January. The stalemate was broken by 8 Democrats who agreed to the deal, even though it omits their party's key demand, extending affordable healthcare subsidies. A vote on that will now be held in December. Democrats who split with their party defended their reasoning.
One is to make sure that the government is functioning so that our kids eat, so that our elderly citizens eat, so that our air traffic controllers can get some sleep and earn money.
The shutdown, which began October 1st, is the longest in U.S. history. It's also shaping up to be the most damaging economically. Federal workers aren't being paid, and food aid for millions of Americans has been suspended. Air traffic has also been disrupted, with thousands of flights canceled and delayed due to staff shortages.
I wish the shutdown wasn't happening because we need, especially during the holidays, we need these people to work so that we can have a good holiday. And air traffic controls, yes, we need them.
I'm a little worried. Again, we have plans. We make plans based on the flights that we buy. So it worries me that maybe we can miss our flight and lose our jobs.
The shutdown could end this week, but several hurdles must be cleared. That includes opposition from Democratic senators who could delay its passage.
We're joined now by Scott Lucas, Professor of American Studies at the Clinton Institute at University College Dublin. Great to have you with us. So is this really the beginning of the end of the shutdown in the US, Scott?
Well, it could be. Let's walk through what now needs to happen. You had the first agreement on what's called a framework to end this shutdown. The deal is that the Democrats would get a vote on extending the tax credits for what's called Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. But of course, they get no guarantee that that extension will continue. They also get a promise from the Republicans that Donald Trump will not fire any of the 700,000 federal workers who have been furloughed without pay. On that basis, the funding for the government will continue through the end of January. But the Senate will need to confirm this. There needs to be a series of further votes. There is a chance, I think it's a small chance, that a single senator could raise an objection to this on procedural grounds. There's the dissident Republican Rand Paul of Kentucky, for example. But I think it will go through the Senate. The big question we're looking at is, will it pass in the House, which has been kept out of session throughout this shutdown by the House Speaker, Mike Johnson? I think almost all Republicans will vote for this package as it goes through. Will the Democrats, who are not happy, and I understand why they're not happy that health care is not being protected, will they agree to go ahead and let the government be funded through January on the hope that at a later point they can get a guarantee that those tax credits for health care will be approved?
Given everything that you've just said, the way you've described the situation, why did those 8 Democratic senators break ranks and vote for the Republican funding measure?
Sometimes I think in politics, politicians sometimes actually note this being inflicted. And the fact here is that the Trump administration has shown that they were willing to inflict a lot of pain on the American people with an indefinite shutdown. In the last few days, the Trump administration has defied court orders to continue food assistance, which almost 40 million Americans rely upon. And indeed, they had demanded that states repay that assistance. They had been willing to threaten, as I mentioned earlier, that many of those 7,000 federal workers who've been furloughed without pay, they might never come back. They would effectively be fired. And we were starting to see the bite on transport with the Trump administration saying, okay, we're willing for 10% of flights to be canceled, 20% of flights to be canceled as you go into the second busiest day of the year for air travel in the United States, which is the day after Thanksgiving at the end of this month.
Will the fact that several Democrat senators voted with the Republicans, will that hurt the party, the Democratic Party going forward, do you think?
Well, I think that's an interesting question on 2 levels. I think the first here is will the Democrats be blamed for this shutdown for the 40 days, especially now that they've sort of conceded ground to the Republicans? I don't think they will be. I think the play here is that when those health care premiums more than double for millions of Americans, is the Trump administration carries the can for that. The broader question here is that you have many Democrats in the House who are not happy with this. They're not happy in what they see as a failure to really stand their ground. Will they be able to say, okay, we understand why this has occurred and work with colleagues who did accept the end of the shutdown? Will they be able to maintain party unity going forward? Only days after they had these electoral victories, from New York to New Jersey to Virginia. I think that's the key question going forward.
Scott Lucas from University College Dublin. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you.
I'm joined now by Boris Forman. He's a political analyst and director of the politics section at the Bard College here in Berlin. Good to see you, Boris. Do you think the longest shutdown in US history will now end this week?
I mean, I think it very much looks this way. There has been the 60-40 vote in the Senate. Yes, the House still needs to vote on it. There are a couple of hurdles that still need to be taken, but it looks like the momentum is on the side of passing and then overcoming the government shutdown.
If I like it, I'll just get it in every single.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting.
Americans waiting, worrying, and wondering when help would come. The final vote was 60-40. And that means the bill now heads to the House for final approval before landing on President Trump's desk. 8 Senate Democrats crossed the aisle to vote yes, joining Republicans to pass a new deal, one that could have far-reaching effects, not just for federal workers, but for anyone relying on Social Security, Medicare, or SNAP benefits. Because here's the thing, this isn't just another temporary funding bill. Quiet changes were added in the final hours, and they could directly affect your healthcare costs, your next Social Security check, and even when your food assistance reloads. So let's unpack what's actually inside this new deal and what it could mean for you in weeks ahead. The new bill is officially called the Continuing Appropriations Act of 2026, and it funds the government through January 30th of next year. In simple terms, it's a short-term budget that keeps things running at last year's levels while Congress works out the bigger disagreements that caused this shutdown in the first place. But it's not just a copy and paste extension. This version includes several new provisions quietly added in the final round of negotiations. It provides full-year funding for the Department of Veterans Affairs, ensuring medical centers and benefit programs for veterans can continue without disruption. It also includes new money for military construction projects, Capitol Police and congressional security upgrades, and the Department of Agriculture, which manages food safety inspections and SNAP benefits. Another key section reimburses states that use their own emergency funds to keep programs like Medicaid, WIC, and food assistance running during the shutdown. It also authorizes the Treasury to issue back pay to all furloughed federal workers and contractors once the government reopens. So, while this isn't a full-year budget, it's a critical stopgap, a reset button after 40 days of chaos that ensures core services, paychecks, and benefit programs can function again while Congress fights over the next phase of spending. But here's where things get interesting. This deal wasn't supposed to pass. In fact, for weeks, leaders on both sides were saying it couldn't happen without one key issue being solved: healthcare. So how did it suddenly break through? Let's rewind for a second. Here's how we got here. For over a month, the government has been paralyzed because of a fight over expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies. Democrats wanted those healthcare tax credits extended immediately. Republicans said they'd handle that later. The stalemate triggered a shutdown on October 1st, closing agencies, delaying paychecks, and freezing billions in services. But as the political pressure grew, moderates from both sides, led by Senators Jeanne Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, and Angus King, stepped in. They cut a deal with Republican Majority Leader John Thune and the White House. Reopen the government now, then debate healthcare later. That compromise was enough to bring both sides together and get the votes. But it's important to understand what it didn't include. Democrats did not secure an immediate extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies, one of their main demands throughout the shutdown. Instead, they received a promise from Senate leaders to hold a vote on the issue later this year, likely in December. It's not a guarantee of passage, but it's a commitment that the healthcare fight isn't over. It's just been delayed until after the government reopens. The White House also made one major concession, a written guarantee that no more federal workers will be laid off or fired during this fiscal year, and that every furloughed employee will receive full back pay. For many families who've missed 2 pay cycles already, that's life-changing news. But that's just the start, because the biggest changes affect you directly. The programs most Americans depend on, Social Security, Medicare, and food assistance, are all tied to this new funding deal. And depending on where you live, it could change how quickly your benefits restart. So let's break that down, starting with Social Security. Even during the shutdown, Social Security checks continue to go out because that money is classified as mandatory spending. But the smaller field offices, the ones where people file new applications, fix benefit errors, or appeal decisions, have been short-staffed or closed entirely. With this bill passing, those offices will fully reopen, staff will return, and processing delays will begin to clear up. That means if you've been waiting on a benefit adjustment or replacement card, help should come much sooner now that funding is back in place. For Medicare and Medicaid, the story is similar. Hospital reimbursements and prescription coverage have continued, but the behind-the-scenes work, billing corrections, provider approvals, claim disputes, slowed dramatically during the shutdown. The new funding bill restarts those administrative operations, so providers can be paid on time and patients won't have to deal with backlog-related errors. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which operates on federal appropriations for much of its staff, can now resume full operations. And then there's SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as food stamps. This has been one of the hardest hit programs during the shutdown. The Department of Agriculture had warned that states were running out of emergency reserves and that benefit reloads could be delayed or reduced. Now, With this bill passed, funding for SNAP is officially restored through January, meaning the next round of payments should go out normally. That's crucial for the 40 million Americans who rely on it, especially seniors and families living on tight budgets. Just pausing for a moment to share something that could really help you or someone you care about. If you're 65 or older, or helping someone who is, you probably know how overwhelming Medicare can feel. The mailers, the endless calls, all claiming they have the best plan. It's exhausting. While my team and I were looking into this, we came across Chapter, and what stood out wasn't just that they compare all 24,000 plus plans. It was their story. The founders built Chapter after their own parents got stuck in the wrong Medicare plans, and they realized just how many people were being misled or pressured into making choices that weren't right for them. That's what makes Chapter different. Their advisors aren't paid to push one plan over another. They're salaried, independent, and genuinely there to help you. You'll speak with a real person who takes the time to understand your doctors, prescriptions, and preferences, and helps you make a decision you feel good.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Let's continue with the news. It was mentioned that he's talking about giving people $2,000. Let's get to that. We'll get to the Kardashians. It's also being mentioned that he has pardoned Rudy Giuliani. Okay, let's get to, okay. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Will he really send this out? You guys have to remember, this was talked about, what, 2 months ago? And we never got anything. So will this actually be sent out? So let's talk about the $2,000. Because remember, we did a report about 3 weeks ago where he was talking about sending either $1,000 or $2,000. But has that been passed? So let's get to it.
Confirmed and promised the $2,000 stimulus check to all Americans, the tariff revenue. So I want to be absolutely crystal clear about this. So this is not like an idea that he's floating around. It's not like, oh, he's going to consider this or he's thinking about it. No, he officially confirmed it and promised it. So I'm going to give you my opinion, but I want to show you the situation first. Okay, so I want to read you what President Trump wrote on Sunday, November 9th, and then we're going to review this piece by piece. It begins with, people that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world. With almost no inflation and a record stock market price, 401ks are highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debts, $37 trillion. Record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. Okay, so take a look at that last sentence. It's
allegedly.
Not we might, it's not we could, it's not we're thinking about it. It's clear, I mean, it's very clear-cut, and it's an official promise. Now, I just want to point this out. Do you remember the potential Doge dividend check? So that stimulus check earlier in the year. So when President Trump floated that idea of giving a stimulus check from all the money that Doge was going to save the governments, when he was talking about that, President Trump had a different tone and he used a different language. He didn't make any promises. He said it may happen. We're thinking about it. It's something that he would consider. So I want to show you.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt.
Okay, so you just saw that. When President Trump was talking about this idea, the Doge stimulus check, I immediately called BS, just the way that he was talking about it, the tone and language that he was using. So I said that's not going to happen. Don't get your hopes up. I mean, you can watch this video. And I made my position, I made my prediction very clear. So that was my objective conclusion. But do you now see the difference in President Trump's language? Regarding the Doge stimulus check, I mean, you can't blame President Trump for not delivering because he never promised a Doge stimulus check. But I'm telling you that this time, it's different because President Trump is explicitly saying that he's going to give a $2,000 stimulus check to almost all Americans, excluding the high-income earners. And if he doesn't deliver, well, then I'm obviously going to be obligated to call him out on it. Now, let's analyze the other pieces of President Trump's post. My first concern is that if President Trump gives a $2,000 stimulus check to all Americans, minus high-income earners, then it's going to spike inflation, just like the other stimulus checks did. And right now, inflation is still running hot. Okay, so President Trump claims that the rate of inflation is close to 0%. However, the U.S. federal government is reporting that the rate of inflation is at 3.0%. But currently, the true rate of inflation is closer to approximately 6%. Okay, so right off the bat, I have to disagree with President Trump's statement that inflation is close to 0%. Now, I just want to say this, and I'm addressing the MAGA crowd. And I'm just speaking very sincerely here. I want you to understand, like, please understand this, that you are allowed to disagree with President Trump and still support him. I want you to know that he is not your God. He is a politician. So it's like, I said this before, it's like this. I have a cousin, and a lot of times he says really stupid things, and he makes really bad decisions. Regardless, I still support my cousin, even though he says stupid things sometimes. Anyways, it's very important for you to know that, relatively speaking, the rate of inflation right now is actually pretty low. So 6% is not that bad, relatively speaking. Because, okay, the reason I'm saying that is you have to remember that the Federal Reserve is right now aggressively lowering interest rates, and they're getting ready to turn the money printers back on. And they're saying as early as Q1 of 2026, which is right around the corner. So even without these stimulus checks, the rate of inflation is going to go much higher in 2026. And with these stimulus checks, I mean, the rate of inflation, it would be mind-blowing. Now, in this section, President Trump says that the tariffs are giving trillions of dollars. The government can take this tariff money to pay down the government's debts of $37 trillion. First of all, President Trump posted this on November 9th. And as of November 9th, the government's debt is at $38.1 trillion, not 37. And this is according to the Treasury Department. This is straight from the Treasury's website. Next, here's how much money that tariffs have generated for the U.S. government. In the most recently reported month, so September, tariff revenue soared to $31.6 billion. If we continue at that monthly rate, then that's going to provide the government $380 billion a year. Okay, so I really don't understand where President Trump's getting this multi-trillion dollars from. Again, that's a run rate of $380 billion a year.
The season's changing, perfect time for a fresh look. Choose designer eyewear and stay ahead of the trends.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip.
From. Again, that's a run rate of $380 billion a year. Now, I want you to take a look at this. For fiscal year 2025, the U.S. government overspent by $1.78 trillion. In other words, they had a $1.78 trillion deficit, and that includes the money that they got from tariffs. So, in other words, the U.S. government went deeper into debt by $1.78 trillion in fiscal year 2025. So, listen, I'm just going to tell you this straight up. Like, I'm not quite following President Trump's math here. So, I just want to calculate this out loud. Tariffs will give the U.S. government $380 billion a year, and the government will need to borrow an additional $2 trillion to fund their overspending. All right, so according to my calculations, $2 trillion is greater than $380 billion. So how are we going to pay down the national debts with tariff revenue? Like, I'm not following. Maybe I missed this part in math class. I guess the education system in Illinois failed me. All right, so President Trump is saying that he's going to pay down the national debt with all this money that's coming in from tariffs. I'll tell you, like, honestly, I'm very skeptical. Like, let's see over the next few months if the federal debt goes down from here, from $38.1 trillion, or if it goes up. But I mean, that's just a silly question, because I guarantee you that the federal government's debt is just going to become larger. The only way that they're going to pay down debt, in my opinion, would be with gold revaluation. Other than that, there's no other way. Now, this part, President Trump says that there's record investment in the USA. Plants and factories are springing up all over the place. Actually, that is not true. As a matter of fact, a record amount of job cuts were announced in October, and the country lost 3,000 manufacturing jobs last month. Now, with all that taken into consideration, President Trump says a dividend of at least $2,000 a person will be paid to everyone. So my question that I pose to everyone is, are we supposed to believe this? Because just in this single post, there's so much misinformation. Can President Trump really deliver on this tariff dividend, or I guess you can call it a stimulus check? First of all, if President Trump wanted to give a $2,000 stimulus check, then Congress would need to vote on it, just like it did back during the pandemic.
Facts. Has Congress voted on it? That's the question.
It would have to pass in the House of Representatives with a simple majority, and then it would have to pass in the Senate with 60 votes. And I'll tell you that there is no way that they're going to get 60 votes for this. Okay, so if President Trump wanted to pass this in the Senate, then he would have to do the reconciliation procedure, and that would lower the requirement down to 50 votes instead of 60. But even so, like I'm telling you, there's a handful of Republicans, especially in the Senate, that are fiscal hawks, and they would refuse to go with party lines on this because of the inflation situation. So in my opinion, getting this $2,000 stimulus check to Americans would be very challenging in Congress. But listen, I'll tell you this. The only way that I see this actually going through is if the recession worsens exponentially next year in 2026, and they have to save the economy with this being the last resort. Again, that would be disastrous for inflation. But you know how they operate. You know how the politicians in D.C. operate. They just put out one fire at a time, and they kick the can down the road. And listen, just like the last time that I said the Doge stimulus check was BS, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to call it like it is. For this one, I would say I wouldn't write this one off yet. Not just yet. because desperate times call for desperate measures, and a lot of things in the financial sector are on the verge of breaking. That's why they're panicking at the Federal Reserve. That's why they're cutting interest rates so aggressively, and that's why they stopped the QT, and now they're talking about starting the QE, the quantitative easing. And I want to throw this last curveball out there. So President Trump's tariffs are being challenged in courts. It's gone to the Supreme Court, and oral arguments heard on November 5th. It's been fast-tracked, but I'm telling you, it could take a while before we get the final decision from the Supreme Court. If Trump's tariffs are struck down, then the tariff revenue is expected to be cut in half. So it's not like they're going to go away completely, but they're going to be reduced significantly. And that would mean that annual tariff collections, like if they struck it down, it would fall below $200 billion a year. And you have to remember that the government overspends by almost $2 trillion a year. Listen, that's my assessment. And I just want to say that I'm going to keep you up to date with this information. And
like the video. We'll see what happens. He talked about it a few times, but now let's see what happens. Like the video as you guys come in. And please hit subscribe. There's about 137 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Let's get the likes up. There's 137 in the building, 27 likes. Let's get the likes up so we can continue. Just doesn't make any sense. Let's get the likes up. Early Monday morning. Let's get the likes up. All you have to do is double tap the screen. And thank you. Let's continue. Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it. Let's continue this Monday morning.
Understand the fine points of the legal arguments his administration just made to the United States Supreme Court about his tariff program. The last thing that he needs to tell the American people or the United States Supreme Court is that he believes that tariffs are revenue producing to the tune of trillions of dollars, that there's going to be a tariff refund to the American people. But he just said exactly that just several days after the United States Supreme Court oral argument while the case is still alive. And Scott Bessent, his Treasury Secretary, admitted that the tariffs are revenue producing as well. Trillions of dollars. In fact, if they are revenue producing, they are the equivalent, according to the Supreme Court, of taxes, which means Donald Trump has violated Article 1 of the Constitution in trying to tax through tariffs allies and enemies alike, passing the cost along like a tax to the American consumer. See, Donald Trump likes lying to the American people. He's done it in a series of ways, and it's always about waving around some big phony check that he's never produced and never going to give to the American people. But by doing so, he undermines his very legal argument that's before the Supreme Court. Remember when Doge said that Elon Musk was going to save the government $2 trillion? It spends $5 trillion a year. That was like 40% they were going to save because of Elon Musk. Never came anywhere near that. It was a $100 billion XX at most. And Donald Trump said, you're all going to get a $5,000 Doge dividend check.
Remember that?
What did you do with yours?
Never came.
Get my point? Now, as he's golfing at Mar-a-Lago, as the Capitol burns, as a small group of Democrats and Republicans in the Senate try to reopen the government and avoid an air shutdown during Thanksgiving, avoid more injury to the impoverished in America while he golfs, he also then decided that he's going to take away our health care. He's going to get rid of insurance companies. And instead, he's going to give each of us $2,000 to cover our health benefits. I don't think he understands how insurance or health benefits work, but $2,000 in my health savings account is not going to cut it. Not with insurance, because it's spread out among a lot of insureds in a pool, ends up giving you anywhere between $10,000 and hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars of coverage should you need it. I don't think if you go to the healthcare store with $2,000, you're going to get much for you or your family. But so he made kind of both of those promises. Let's destroy insurance companies. And yet we need the insurance companies because I guess the $2,000 is going to go to the insurance companies, but not the insurance companies that are providing Obamacare. I mean, the whole thing is just so upside down. He's just insufferable. I mean, the limits of his mental capacity and those of his enablers around them, spectacular. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Monday Morning Legal AF. I want to focus not on the Doge phony check for $5,000 that nobody ever got, not for this ridiculous $2,000 health account after he destroys the insurance companies, and no insurance is ever going to cover you for pre-existing condition ever again. That was the big heart of Obamacare, pre-existing condition coverage. He then says, and I'm going to read it to you, he then says the following, that there's going to be a $2,000 tariff dividend. Now listen to this, because this completely destroys the legal argument before the Supreme Court to keep the tariffs in place, which I thought he wanted to do. You wouldn't know it by what he just said out loud. Here's what he said in a Truth Social post. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. So not everyone. The 2,000, here's what he said in its complete, on the Truth Social. Here's the complete posting. We'll put it up on the screen. People that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation. Or that's already a lie. No inflation? I can tell he's never shopped at the supermarket recently. It's now 3.4%. It's the highest in 20 years, and it's heading in the exact wrong direction. And a record stock market price. That only helps people who have enough money to be in the stock market. That's not a measure of how people feel about the economy. 70% believe the economy is in the wrong direction because they feel it every day in their purse, in their pocketbook. The reason the Democrats won and won big on Tuesday night was because we focused on affordability. It's the economy, stupid. You got to focus on kitchen table politics. 401ks are highest ever. That's not true either, by the way. If you could afford to have a 401k, what about the other 85% of America that don't have that? We're taking in, now here's the part that screws him, he just doesn't realize it, and no lawyer, if he had a lawyer that he respected, or he trusted, that would read these things before they went up, they would never go up. It's just the lawyers having to scramble behind Donald Trump like an elephant cleaning up behind the elephant. He says we're taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt, $37 trillion, made more enormous by him, by cutting taxes. And we're not taking in trillions of dollars. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars a year, but it's still a tremendous revenue, right? Record investment in the USA, a dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone, but not everyone. He's arguing at the United States Supreme Court that the tariffs are not revenue producing. That's not their focus. They're regulatory, right? Here's the clip again from John Sauer being grilled by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts. Listen. If you live in a Michigan zip code.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 136 in the building. Please hit subscribe and please hit the like button. Like the videos you guys come in.
The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts. Listen.
I mean, and I think this is a question for the other side as well. It's two-facing. Yes, of course, tariffs and dealings with foreign powers, but the vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress. So to have the president's foreign affairs power trump that basic power for Congress seems to me to kind of at least neutralize between the two powers, the executive power and the legislative power.
Let me say two things in response to that. First, the notion that the taxes are all borne by Americans, they're not borne by foreign whose goods are imported is empirically, there's no basis for that in the record. It's actually a mix.
Well, who pays the tariffs? If a tariff is imposed on automobiles, who pays them?
Typically there'd be regardless of who the importer of record is, there'd be a contract that would go along the sort of line of transfer that would allocate the tariff, and there'd be different. Sometimes the foreign producer would pay them. Sometimes the importer would bear the cost. The importer could be an American, could be a foreign company. A lot of times it's a whole American subsidiary of a foreign corporation. So it gets allocated. The empirical estimates range from like 30% to 80% of like how much is borne by.
I mean, it's been suggested that the tariffs are responsible for significant reduction in our deficit. I would say that's raising revenue domestically.
There certainly is an incidental and collateral effect of the tariffs. They do raise revenue, but it's very important that they are regulatory tariffs, not revenue-raising tariffs. And the way you can see this, I think, if you look at this policy is by far the most effective if nobody ever pays the tariffs.
Now, in their brief that they filed to the United States Supreme Court, they said the same thing. America was dead, and now it's alive. The economy's been revived, and the revenue that will be coming in from the tariffs will go to pay down the debt. He just said it again. In fact, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was just on Sunday morning talk shows, and he stepped into it as well. Does anybody brief these people? Certainly the Department of Justice and John Sauer's office, the Solicitor General, are not briefing these people about what not to say in the public. Let's play the clip.
Let's talk about tariffs in the Supreme Court. The president is also posting about tariffs this morning. He's saying people that are against tariffs are fools. We're taking in trillions of dollars. Is that true?
We have taken, over the course of the next few years, we could take in trillions of dollars, George. But the real goal of the tariffs is to rebalance trade.
That's another bonehead move by the Trump administration as the Supreme Court considers now, it is counting votes to see if they're going to keep his tariffs against 200 countries in place, which is the centerpiece of his entire economic and fiscal and national security policy. He's a one-trick pony. That's all he's got is the tariffs. The reward and punishment system And now it's fully briefed. The oral argument is done. And now they're trying to count the votes to see if there's 5 votes to keep them in place or 5 votes to tear them down. Donald Trump in his briefing and oral argument had his lawyers say it'll cause the Great Depression if we get rid of this couple $100 billion coming in from tariffs. Again, revenue. And that's the argument, because if it's revenue, then it is a tax. If it's a tax, it's an Article 1 power under the Constitution for Congress that can't be delegated. And his Article 2 power, even in the area of foreign affairs, doesn't fix it. See? but much to the chagrin of his lawyers, I'm sure he's out there saying it's revenue, revenue, revenue. Let me take a close look now on this Trumponomics Monday. I try to do these first video of every morning. This $2,000 healthcare false promise. Now, sometime Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime this week, we may have the makings of a way to open the government as it heads into days with a 4 in the front of them. You know, it's $15 billion a week hit to the economy a week because of the government shutdown. 15 billion. Just to put that in context, the SNAP anti-hunger payments, which are $8 billion a month, 1 week to the economy, is almost twice what we need to pay our most impoverished Americans every month so that they don't starve to death. So for Donald Trump to be playing golf at Mar-a-Lago on our taxpayer dollars, tens of millions of dollars every time he goes to Mar-a-Lago to play golf. Just write it down. It's a $10 million event. By the time he's done, because he's already been playing golf 35% of his administration so far, by the time he's done, it's going to be a $250 million hit to you and to our purse, our checkbook, for his golf games. So while he's out there, it's so embarrassing that the Republicans are covering for him, acting like that Donald Trump is in the Oval Office and they're working with him by posting backdated photos while he's at Mar-a-Lago. There's a senator, Senator Mullen, who literally lied by posting on his social media a photo of him in the Oval Office from Friday, but he posted it 2 days later. Because even the Republicans know the optics of Donald Trump at Great Gatsby, let him eat cake, Halloween parties at Mar-a-Lago while the shutdown's going on, while people go cold and hungry, as he trolls the poor in America and tells them they can't have their food stamps and their anti-hunger payments while he never misses a meal, or any of his other fat cat oligarchs, while he builds a golden ballroom and a marble bathroom and the rest. Just Saturday night late, he ordered all of the agencies and the Department of Agriculture and departments to make sure that they don't make SNAP payments, anti-hunger payments, to get the people all that they're entitled to. Because there's a stay for a day or two, and he doesn't want to accidentally pay out the last $3 billion.
When you're free.
Like the video. There's about 151 in the building. Please hit the subscribe button. And thank you. Let's continue to get the likes up. The likes should match the views. Please double tap that screen and hit the thumbs up. Thank you.
Republicans know this is a terrible, terrible look. And the optics of it, the depravity of it, the immorality of it. As Sky Perryman for Democracy Forward said, the fact that we have to go to court to force the president to care about American citizens is pathetic. I agree. So let's not buy the BS, shall we, about the Doge dividend for $5,000 that none of us got. That $2,000 in our healthcare benefit savings account is going to replace hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of insurance benefits. That there's no explanation as to how he's going to crap all over and destroy the Obamacare insurance companies, but he's going to have other insurance companies that are going to take my $2,000 and give me insurance. I don't know what he's talking about. Insurance is 2, 3, 4, 5 times higher than it was last year by premium. And I'm not even in Obamacare. And Bernie Sanders had a great line. You don't like Obamacare? Go to Medicare for all. That's what he's been pushing since he ran for president, if not before. So we'll continue to follow it. I'm glad you're here on Monday. We're at 925,000 subscribers. Like the video. Okay. Let me go ahead and do my disclaimer. I might get to some hot topics, trending topics, just briefly. Let's go ahead and get through some hot topics, trending topics. It's being reported, I can't confirm or deny, if Jay-Z or Beyonce went to the party, but different celebrities did. Can't confirm or deny if Jay-Z or Beyonce showed up. That's TMZ. TMZ has been questioned several times.
I guess this is a picture of some of the celebrities that went. We understand celebrities will stick together, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. These are just some of the pictures of the people that went. Interesting. Celebrities will stick together. They will. Real talk. Just going through some of the pictures of the people that were there. Allegedly, they were at Jeff Bezos' house, and allegedly, the police was called because of the noise ordinance. So, this is some of the people that were there. The Kardashians will do a lot to trend and go viral. So, some of the celebrities will stand by, be near, because sometimes they want to go trend and go viral. So, let's continue. That's Mrs. Bryant, Chris, and that looks like Sierra. Like I said, that is Chris and that is Corey. So I'm not. You can tell who's in the picture. I'm not gonna give out the names. I'm just zipping through. Looks like Oprah and Gail, and it looks like I can't tell who that is. I don't have my glasses on. There's someone on the end. I can't tell who that is. She looks familiar, but I can't really tell. And then, of course, Tyler's there. And is that Mariah, possibly? And is that Kylie? So if Kylie's with Timothy, why isn't Timothy with Kylie? Was Timothy with Kylie on her birthday? And Timothy's not by Kylie's side for the mom's birthday? So Timothy shows up whenever he wants, huh? Of course, we'll talk about the $2,000 again. Will people receive this $2,000 payment from government? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. This would be the time when he should be giving it out before the holidays. That would be great. People would love that. Like the video, like the video. We're just doing some hot topics, trending topics. I do the hot topics, trending topics towards the end. That way I don't have to do the short later. A lot's been going on in regards to Blueface, and Krishan, and the other baby mama. And I guess Blueface mom has a show and is showing Blueface being out of jail. But they need to be careful because the children are around this foolishness and they need to be careful with their children being around the foolishness. He was booed. Who's misinformed? You must not know my show. You must be new. Let me time you out. Go hug yourself. I'm not misinformed. I'm far from it. You must be talking about yourself. Yeah, he got booed. That's what people like to do in people's comments. They like to be weird and cause distraction. That's a lot of boos. I don't know what they're hearing. That's a lot of boos. Thank you, Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
So there's a mixture of applause and boos, but they did not let him finish.
Of the year for her 70th birthday, and the cops were called numerous times. Let's get into it. To begin, let's go over the guest list. Justin Bieber was there with Haley. She even had Bill Gates.
I don't know if she has music that's playing. we'll just see the guest list. Tony Braxton, like I said, these celebrities stick together. We understand Kim had gotten a lot of backlash in regards to North, and Kim had that she was not able to pass the bar. Zuckerberg. Oh, that's the Barker girl. Okay, that's probably who was at the end. Van Diesel. Celebrities just need a reason to get out, I'm sure. Okay, so maybe Jay was there. That's Jay's lips. So maybe he was there. And then they said Bruno Mars performed. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to continue because, like I said, she may be playing music I can't play. So we're going to continue.
Here in Washington, D.C., with the breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C., the Senate has reached a deal. Senate Democrats have reached a deal to give Republicans what they want. Now, according to this CR, it's going to have a CR to January 30th, which is a continuing resolution, a promise of vote to vote on ACA subsidies in December. Just a promise. A minibus of bills, including preventing future rifts and reversal of layoffs under the shutdown. And SNAP will be funded through fiscal year 2026. Again, that's the breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C. from my sources. There is a procedural vote that's happening right now as I'm taping this, but it looks like it is a done deal. Senate Democrats have caved to Republican demands with only a promise to vote on health care in December. Details are still coming in, and we will bring them to you as we get them.
Like the video as you guys come in. We're just doing a few hot topics, trending topics. This is some more pictures from the Shade Room. We'll go through them. Like I said, celebrities will stick together. Yes, they will. And that looks like Stevie. Let's continue. Just showing. Y'all know how I feel about them. They'll do anything to trend and go viral. And if you guys don't know, it's being alleged that Kim and Chris are filing a lawsuit with Ray J because they felt that he defamed them. Can't confirm or deny if he defamed. Can't confirm or deny what Ray J was saying was true or false. But yeah, the Kardashians have found a way to, I don't know. Remember the documentary when Kanye asked, did you have something to do with my mental health? And she said yes. So celebrities are celebrating that. Okay. We understand Tyler Perry's been trending. Where's Timothy with Kylie? If they're together, why would he not be there? Brian is there. Sierra's there. Celebrities will stick together no matter what. That's what it's showing me. So like the videos you guys come in. Let's continue. I think that was okay.
Anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury.
A few moments later.
The internet will never be defeated. Oh my goodness. He went golfing, y'all.
I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury.
A few moments later.
I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing.
Was there anything else? Hold on 1 second. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? Like I said, it's being reported that he pardoned Rudy Giuliani. These are some more of the guests that attended. Like the videos you guys come in. Did you guys know that allegedly Kim Kardashian wore a dress similar to what Halle Berry wore. Why can't they get creative? Why is she always intertwining herself to trend with an African American person? Why is that? She can't get creative. She has to use an African American style. She did the same thing with her kids' Halloween. She used different African American people to trend and put her children in costume. Why does she have to utilize Hallie's outfit? I did a show on it. Go look at it. Kim likes to infringe on the African American community, period. Snoop, now this surprises me. Go check out the video from about 10 years ago when Snoop was talking about the K's and the J's and how the women are doing well and the men they dated. Go back and check out that video. And then he started to rub noses with them. And he did an ad for them. So this is very interesting that Snoop is there because he had a lot to say. They're doing different promotions and basically like, where's Rob? And look at the men's careers of who dated. Go look at the video from Snoop. I posted it about 3 years ago. So it had to be in about 5 years ago that he posted it. And then he started rubbing noses. That's what the celebrities do. They'll stick together. I told y'all. They will stick together. And then, of course, Scott. Look at how Scott went through the ups and downs. Look at what Kanye went through. Look at what Lamar went through. Look at what Travis Scott went through. Look at what Tyga went through. Shall I continue? Look at what Chris Humphrey went through. But, okay. And I'm surprised Meghan and Harry are there. Because remember, the K's and the J's was talking about Meghan trying to connect with them. The Kardashians wanted to tell that Meghan wanted to connect with them. So a lot of people have lost a lot of respect for Meghan and Harry because of how they put themselves out there, the different statements. I'm not for the celebrities. I don't really care for them, but it is what it is. But wasn't she spotted in a certain dress that we've called out before that did a not so welcoming ad regards to children? So yeah, these celebrities are something else. These celebrities are something else. So that's her going to the party. Meghan, Harry, that was Mariah. Yeah, these celebrities will stick together no matter what. So these are just more pictures. Like the videos, y'all come in. Like the videos, y'all come in. And they will connect themselves. Whoever's trending, Kim wants to trend with them. Real talk. Kanye just recently did his thing. Oh, Jonathan. I thought they said that Jonathan don't hang with them no more.
We'll never agree to give any substantial money or any money to really prisoners, illegals that come into our country. And I think the Democrats understand that. And it looks like we're getting close to the shutdown ending. You'll know very soon. Thank you very much. Getting very close on the shutdown. We'll never agree to give any substantial money or any money to really prisoners, illegals that come into our country. And I think the Democrats understand that. And it looks like we're getting close to the shutdown ending. You'll know very soon. Thank you very much.
So that's what he had to say regarding to the shutdown. Who will and who won't receive. And then, like we said, Jeff Bezos threw the party. Allegedly, the police was called in regards to the noise. Was there anything else? This was a while ago when they went to the Beyonce event. That's why she's in the silver. Kim Kardashian fails the bar. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? And it's being reported allegedly she could retake the test, I believe, in February of 2026. Are you surprised? And then remember, there was when she was getting all that backlash regards to North, she had said that she felt that she had passed. And that's why she had put it out, because she was getting a lot of backlash. in regards to North, because a lot of people are saying she's putting North in unfavorable looks, dressing North as Kanye, dressing North as different celebrities, dressing North in grown outfits, dressing North in male outfits. So Kim was getting a lot of backlash. And then we have reported, why isn't Chris saying something about it? And instead of Chris saying something about it, they did a Halloween costume, which made North look even older than Kim. They like to copy different celebrities that's trending. This is her thing. So that's kind of interesting. It's kind of creepy too. She likes to trend and go viral. Who's trending go viral? If there's a situation that's trending go viral, she'll try and have that same situation tied to her. I'm not going to say what the situation is, but she'll try and trend and go viral regards to that. And I told y'all too, she's copied Kanye's wife's outfit several times as well. But it is what it is. Celebrities are celebrities. Are they role models? You can be the judge of that, but she has to retake the test. So she's still trying. It is what it is. If she passed, blessings. But she had stated 2 weeks ago that she felt she passed. And that was to take the attention away from the backlash she was getting in regards to North, not putting North in favorable outfits and dressing North in very, very older clothes, and sometimes dressing North in similar clothes as herself. So many people called out Kanye for dressing his wife in see-through things, and now many people call out Kim in regards to North. So there's that. It's concerning how Kanye dresses his wife, concerning. And some children don't know what girls have up here. Some children don't know what women have down there. So Kanye dressing his wife in absolutely see-through stuff around children is beyond. How Kim dresses North in men's clothes and then over dressing her in clothes that's mainly sometimes for women is concerning. So Kim and Kanye, maybe that's why they stayed together for so long, because we always wonder what is really going on. And other celebrities will put their children in media too, but it's interesting how the Kardashians love to utilize North to stay relevant. And they said that. And I've said this before about about 2 years ago, benefits and embarrassment. They don't mind being talked about up, down, whatever. They don't mind. The benefits and an embarrassment of still being able to trend is what they want. So there's that. Oh, let's see. Okay, so thanks for being here. So copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. So this week they're going to trend about Chris's party. Let's see what they trend about next week. Every week they want to trend. I bet their team has to be exhausted. What are we going to trend about? Their library has to be full of books and let's copy this person, let's copy that person. Their media team must be exhausted. The media team must be exhausted. And then they'll revamp stuff too. Oh, this trended really well. Let's do this again. So right now, this week, they're trending about Chris's party. And then they're trying to make allegations. Was the party a party or was it a wedding? Chris probably won't marry Corey. You know what kind of ironclad prenup she would have to have in regards to being with Corey? But see, they like putting that out too. I already said this too. Kourtney is the only Kardashian girl married. Kim's not married, have been. Khloe is not married, she has been. Kylie has never been married, and neither has Kendall. But it is what it is. Sometimes the men don't want to be attached to them because after they break up with them, the Kardashians still like to talk about them. And the men have moved on and they don't want to be talked about. Look at, she continues to talk about Pete. Any chance she gets to talk about Pete, she will, to try to go viral. Any chance she gets to talk about Kanye, she will, to go viral. Kanye's married with a whole different relationship, but it is what it is. Yeah, I blocked. Yeah. So it's just interesting to me, but it is what it is. And then she'll promote different stuff. So Kim has certain situations that she'll do. She'll try and do something in regards to criminal justice. She'll try and trend about going viral with someone else. She'll try and trend about a product. She'll try and trend about playing the victim. And then to blame Kanye for your health concerns. You are constantly trying to trend and go viral. How can you blame Kanye about your health concerns and not your busy schedule? See the play? And then she blamed ChatGPT about her failing her exam. And then didn't she say that it would often give her wrong answers? So why would you use that for your exam if you know sometimes it gives you wrong answers? She likes to blame Kanye. That was a few weeks ago. Now she's blaming ChatGPT. Sometimes do you think that she should take accountability for the choices she makes? She wanted that man. She got that man. Now they have 4 kids. And remember, she was married to Chris Humphries. Then she started dating Kanye. She wanted that man. She got that man. And she divorced that man. And now that man's married to somebody else. So there's that. So thanks for being here, everyone. I have some things I have to take care of. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics, what's going on in regards to celebrities. They won't tell you what's going on in the background, but I'll always keep you updated. So let's see what they try and trend about next week. They listen to different pages as well. So it is what it is. We see the unhealthy relationships. I can talk about the men again. Kanye concerning, Scott Disick concerning, Lamar Odom concerning. Tristan Thompson concerning. But Khloe likes to have Tristan around. Travis Scott concerning. And Travis Scott recently brought out Kanye on stage in Paris, I believe. But yeah, Travis and Kanye still hang out and they still talk. Kanye has lost a lot of friends. Kanye today is not the same Kanye from 10, 15 years ago. So concerning. Yeah, Chris Humphries, go look up some of the statements Chris Humphries made. Go look up some of the statements her first husband made. But it is what it is. Thanks for being here, everyone. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Bless. Have a great Monday, everyone. Have a great week. Goodbye. Thanks for being here. And thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21. Have a great day. Bye-bye.